Good afternoon. Hello, everybody. It's Chef Meg. Still seems so funny to call myself that, but yes, it's Meg here, live from Fruits Restaurant at Fruits Juice Bar at Roots Restaurant here at Rythmia. And I'm coming to you live today. It's been a few weeks. I took a few weeks off for the holiday. I haven't done a Facebook Live since before the holidays, but I'm super excited to be back. Super excited to wish Happy New Year to everyone out there, and super happy to be welcoming 2018 in with a bang. We just had an amazing first week of guests here at Rythmia, and I had the opportunity to really get to know a lot of them. I've been blessed with the opportunity to be teaching yoga this week every day, so that's been really, really lovely. And I'm just so grateful to be a part of what Rythmia is doing here. And today, I'm super happy. I'm super, apparently that's my word of the day. I'm very excited to be talking to you guys here. There we go. Sorry, the video just froze there. Hopefully we're not going to have too many problems with the internet today. But as you can see, it's super windy here in Costa Rica. It's the December and January winds are here. And hopefully the audio is okay and everything is great. And I'm going to get right into our talk here. I'm going to show you, I've got my lunch here in front of me. This is my beautiful plate of food that I've just pulled from the buffet that I will enjoy as soon as I'm done this talk. I've got my favorite here, my Rythmia yum sauce, khichdi, which is going to be the topic of a Facebook Live coming up in the next few weeks. I'm not sure exactly the date, but I'm going to be talking a lot more about khichdi, which is an Ayurvedic dish, a tonic for digestion. I'm going to talk about our doshas and just another philosophy about how we can eat best for our body and for our spirits and our souls. Got my fresh vegetables here, some chakra colors going on. I've also got a patacone, which is a fried green plantain, and I'm going to get into the idea of scary foods a little bit later in this talk, but this was something that I would not have eaten a few years back, and I'm super excited for that. I'm going to dip that in my yum sauce. I've got a little bit of chicken here because I was feeling the chicken this afternoon. I haven't had animal protein in a couple of weeks, and I'm feeling like I want something grounding like that with all of these winds that are happening, and just some local organic greens, as well as, most important, a couple of desserts here. I've got my chocolate bliss ball and a gluten-free peanut butter cookie. So I'm going to keep this talk a little bit shorter than normal so that I can dig into that plate. So now that I've blabbered on and I've got a few of you guys here watching, look at me, I can do my own checking the notes. Happy New Year from Colorado, says Deborah. Happy New Year, Deborah. Thanks for tuning in. Steve says, hey, Meg, glad to see you. Look beautiful as always. Oh, well, thank you, Steve. Very, very sweet of you. So the topic of this Facebook Live, I decided a while ago, and I just mentioned to Jerry in the restaurant at lunchtime. I said, so I came up with the title of my New Year's talk a while ago, and I haven't really figured out what my content's going to be to go along with the title. And I believe the title was New Year's Intuitive Intentions. And this shouldn't be a topic that's difficult for me to talk about because intuition has become a huge part of my life, and intuitive eating and Intuitarianism, if you've been following me and my journey and my stories and my lives, you'll know that that's a term that I use quite often. And I think my very first Facebook Live that I did months and months ago, it was like 3 months ago, I think, I talked a bit about Intuitarianism and why I've decided to start using that term to describe my way of eating, and why I think it's a really beautiful way for many of us to embrace the way that we nourish our souls. And the main reason for me is I spent a lot of years in battle with my body and in battle with food. And I'm going to just do a really brief synopsis of that journey for myself. But in my early teens, I began restricting food. At that point, it was all about body image and weight loss. I just wanted to be thin and hang out with the cool kids at school. So I started restricting. So I think it's safe to say that I was anorexic. If we want to label, how my lifestyle was at that point in time. But that very quickly morphed into binging, so overeating and eating a lot of food at one time, and purging. And if you've been to Rythmia, you know the term purge. We use that quite often in reference to when the body either we're vomiting or we have diarrhea as an effect of the plant medicine. But I was choosing to do so to rid myself of food because I was not comfortable with eating food and having it inside my body or my temple. So bulimia by definition in my world was eating, whether just eating a regular meal or overeating on purpose with the goal at the end to purge through vomiting, or the overuse of laxatives. That was something that I battled with from, I would say, 15 until 30 years old was when I was hospitalized. So I've had a really rough go when it comes to my body image and food. And even though I worked in restaurants through my teens and in my 20s, and I worked as a baker in Canada, and I always loved nourishing other people and feeding other people food and, you know, feeding people's souls. And I love the act of cooking. It's always been very therapeutic for me. I've always had a really hard time with feeding myself, nourishing myself, and keeping the food inside of me and allowing my body to utilize it in the best way possible. Obviously, that's a very different story nowadays, but that's just a really brief synopsis about me and why food has become such an important part of my life. It was in my late 20s, early 30s when I decided to leave my career in television that I really looked for a message from the universe, so to speak. And I asked, what should I be doing with my life? What would make the best use of my time here on this planet, in the density of the flesh? And I got the message to decide to choose what makes me happiest and do that. And at that point, it was yoga and raw food. Because when I discovered raw food, which I've talked about in previous Facebook Lives, living food, uncooked food, enzyme-rich, bright, colorful, like this stuff here, living food. When I discovered that type of food, when I ate it, enabled me to regain a sense of comfort with the act of eating. Which, as I'm saying it, it seems almost crazy to have to feel comfortable with the act of eating. But for so many years, and for so many of us in the world, still to this day, the act of eating and sitting down at the table and cooking and nourishing ourselves is a completely uncomfortable topic to not only, act upon, but to discuss. And that's really why I'm bringing it up today. I've had many conversations this week alone with people, with guests who shared very similar stories, who are currently battling the same things that I've spent so many years battling. And so I think it's really important that we talk about it, because that seems to be the common thread is no one that's dealing with an eating disorder, if we're going to call it that and label it that, no one really feels like anyone else is going through it at the time. So I feel like talking about it really helps. I have a lot of friends that work in the eating disorder advocacy world. So I follow all of them on social media, and it's every day. It's really lovely to see the reminders about positive body image and not labeling anything, and just being really open and candid about the truth behind what it's like living with an eating disorder. And that's why I'm talking about it today. So Jennifer Smith says, hi, Meg. Lisa Turner says, hi from Glendale, California. Lisa's going to be here in a week from today. That's super exciting. George, hi, George. George Bell, so wonderful to see you. Thanks for tuning in, you guys. And I'm just going to divert here for a minute and apologize, and I'm not doing any cooking today. This is typically a cooking demonstration Facebook Live, but today I'm veering away from that a little bit. And I'm talking again about Intuitarianism. So intuitive eating it's something I talk a lot about, as you know, but I want to give you guys a couple of tools. So maybe if you maybe have come to realize that you're maybe not comfortable with food, if you overthink food, if the idea of shopping for food, cooking food, eating food makes you at all uncomfortable, then I think it's time to have this conversation. I'm not a nutritionist. I don't claim to be. I never have. I'm not a traditionally trained chef either, and that's why it seems really funny for me to say, hey, it's Chef Meg, live from Fruits. But I'm starting to embrace that. I'm embracing that more, because that's my role here at Rythmia. I'm in charge of the food. I'm in charge of making sure that what we offer on the buffet is not only in certain alignment with the plant medicine and any contraindications with that, but also, I want food that's accessible and comfortable for everyone to come and enjoy and eat and not have to really think too much about it. So why Intuitarianism? Well, for me, it's been that long battle. So I think I just mentioned raw food was what really helped me rebuild my relationship with my body and with food, because when I discovered raw, vegan, plant-based food, it was the first time that I didn't feel the need to count calories or restrict my portion sizes. And it was when I started eating raw plant-based food, I never felt, I never felt uncomfortable when I was full. For many years after eating, I would always, literally have to check my stomach and see, am I physically full? Because I lost very early on my hunger and satiety signals, because I was binging and purging so much. I actually was just discharged in December of 2017, fully, from having 7 years of a personal bankruptcy on my personal credit file in Canada, because throughout my late teens and my 20s, I racked up so much debt buying food because of my addiction to food and my addiction to my bulimia, that I had racked up thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars of debt, merely because I was fueling my eating disorder and also my abuse of alcohol. So I don't remember where I was going with that. Side veering off a little bit there, sorry. But what was I saying? It was December of this year. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Long story short, labels around, oh yeah, raw food. That's where I was going with that. So raw food is what brought me back to being comfortable with food and being comfortable with being full. See, I knew I would get back there. Just took me a second. So the raw food was huge for me. So when I discovered that, I really was towing the line, and that's why when I left my career in TV, I became a yoga instructor, because yoga really helped me become more in tune with my body. And the raw food really helped me start developing a relationship with food and stop seeing it as the enemy and stop seeing it as something scary. So I was very much a raw foodist for a long time. I was also really pushing the vegetarianism for a long time and was very anti-animal protein and dairy. And looking back now, I realized that I was on my own part shaming other people for eating dairy and for eating animal proteins, which at this point in my life I realize is not at all fair and is not the way to go. And as I pointed out at the beginning of this video, I have chicken on my plate today for lunch. I haven't had chicken in a couple weeks, but today my body was craving it. So that's me being very intuitive about what I want to eat. So in short, intuitive eating is really all about food being food, really nothing more. We have so much information coming at us from not just like dietitians and the news and the media and magazines and our best friends and our mother and our uncle. Everyone has an angle on food these days. You know, you could enjoy a potato just as a potato, or you could look at it and think about how many carbs are included in that potato, how much sugar is going to, your body's going to break down those carbohydrates, and then it's going to be considered sugar. You're going to, come up with all of these crazy stories about why potatoes are bad, or you can just look at it as a potato, as food. And I think that that's the ultimate goal, is getting back to just looking at food as food instead of all the stories that we've created around food. Raw food for me was a safe food for a long time. Peanut butter was an unsafe food for a long time. I had a lot of ideas about what I could and couldn't eat to feel comfortable in my body. And as I transitioned away from feeling just uncomfortable with the food, the labels started to fall away slowly but surely. I just shared this morning with one of the guests that I was speaking with that when I was in Canada over the holidays, I ate a honey cruller, a donut, and it was just a donut. And I can look back on that now and say, wow, that's a huge step from where I would have been even just a year ago. Because I decided I wanted a donut. I was in Canada and I was doing a lot of very Canadian things at the time. It was cold, it was snowy, I was buying a new parka, I was shopping the Boxing Day sales, I was ordering a coffee from Tim Hortons, and I decided I wanted a donut. And I ordered that donut and I ate that donut, and then I forgot about that donut until that conversation I was having this morning, which is exactly how I think we should all be viewing our food in general and all of our meals. We should, unless we're breaking bread and celebrating a birthday and having a big birthday cake, and the meal is a bit more of a ceremony. I think food and mealtime should just be thought of as that in the moment, and then we forget about it. It's all about being present with your food, enjoying it, and then letting it go. And that's a big part of intuitive eating, and just being really in your body. A lot of people, when I bring up intuitive eating, they think about, they just have the argument of, okay, is intuitive eating just eating whatever I want whenever I want? So does that mean I can just eat pizza for the rest of my life, and is that cool? And to that I answer, well, first of all, if I told you you could eat, anyway, the biggest point is, it doesn't matter what I tell you can do. You can do whatever you want when it comes to food. But if you told yourself that you could eat pizza every day for the rest of your life without any negative repercussions, you probably wouldn't want to eat it. Because pizza is one of those things, it's delicious, don't get me wrong, but it's one of those dishes that many of us, or foods that many of us say that we can't have, and that there's only so much pizza we can have before we have to stop. But if we tell ourselves that we can eat pizza whenever we want, how much we want, however much we want, then it's not going to have that same effect, because it's not going to be that forbidden food anymore. Same with chocolate, the same with cookies, the same with any food that we say we can have in unlimited amounts, like salad or carrots or celery. I mean, these are typical foods that anyone would probably consider okay to have in unlimited amounts. But if we gave pizza that same treatment, then we wouldn't want to eat it all the time, because there wouldn't be a finite amount for us. There's always going to be pizza, and there's always going to be potatoes, and there's always going to be cookies and chocolate. And if we can really wrap our head around that idea, we're not going to feel like we need to eat it until we can't eat it anymore. The next thing that I want to bring up is the idea that maybe that pizza, maybe the reason why you want to eat it all the time is because you love the taste. And maybe you don't love the taste of salad, or you don't love the taste of blueberries, or you don't love the taste of this, and this. In which I challenge you to think about pizza, and when you eat it, do you really eat it with awareness? Because if it's something you truly love, you should really be paying attention to it. And the minute you're truly paying attention and taking your time to eat and savor and smell and enjoy, you're going to be eating it much slower, and you're probably going to eat less and feel satisfied a lot sooner than if you were just like, oh, pizza, scarfing it down like there's going to be no more pizza tomorrow. You're going to eat a lot more, and you're probably going to feel worse for wear afterwards, as opposed to just eating that pizza with awareness and eating until you're feeling comfortably full, knowing that tomorrow you can have more pizza. Does that make sense? So I like to think that there are a few principles when it comes to eating intuitively or eating mindfully, and the first one being that you are the boss and you are the guru. I spent many years listening to different diet books. I mean, I worked in the media, so I was constantly bombarded with different books, you know, whether it was a low carb or a high carb or a high fat or a low fat or a this or that or this or that. I also had a lot of health challenges. First one being my eating disorder, obviously, and it was raw food that helped me intuitively get back to having a relationship with food. But also I because of my restriction early on, I did not have a proper functioning cycle, monthly cycle for many, many years. I was on the birth control pill for a long time, and that helped me. I had a period every month because I had that 1 week where I wasn't taking the pill. But that was a forced period through the hormones that I was taking through the pills. And when I went off of that, I went off the birth control pill when I was 30, I did not have a period. And for 5 years, my body was at a healthy weight. I was living here in Costa Rica for most of that time. I was living a very balanced life, but eating a primary vegan diet, feeling very strong and healthy in my body. But it was in 2015 when I really decided that I needed to figure that out, because I knew that, you know, not having my period was probably a bad thing, health-wise. And I started to really think about the fact that as I was getting older, there was probably some negative repercussions that went along with that. Like, you know, maybe some effects on my bones and fertility and all of that stuff as well. So instead of calling up my homeopathic doctor or my naturopathic doctor or my dietitian or my this or my that or my that, or, you know, anyone else from the outside, I really decided to check in with myself. And in doing so, I received a message from my own higher self. I feel safe to say that now, that what I needed to do was include animal protein in my diet. So after years of being very, you know, very stern and strict with myself about not enjoying animal proteins, I decided to go the complete opposite direction. And in 2015, I went on a super high fat, almost ketogenic style diet, eating fish and chicken every day. I usually had fish or chicken at lunch and fish or chicken at dinner. And within, I would think it was about 5 or 6 months of eating that way, I got my period back. And I've had it back like clockwork ever since. And that was just me really listening to what my body needed at the time, being very intuitive. And since then, I've really pulled back on the animal protein because I feel a little bit better physically, energy-wise, spiritually, when I don't eat such a heavy animal protein-based diet. But I've been slowly working my way back to figure out, listening to my body, what works best for me now. And now I'm primarily plant-based. I do enjoy a lot of goat milk products from our farm around the corner that I talked about a lot. And whenever I feel like I want to eat chicken or fish, or beef for that matter, I will. I just had a bite of rare beef in Nicaragua in October. It's the first time eating beef in a very long time. And I just needed it. I was sitting there and I was like, I need a bite of that beef that my dinner companion was enjoying. And I had that bite, and I tasted the iron, and I could taste, you know, the B12 and these things in it that my body was craving at the time. And I just had a nice bite or two, and that was it. And then I moved on, and I haven't had beef since. But if I decide to have that for dinner tonight, because that's what my body wants, that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to eat that beef, and I'm going to treat that beef like it is what it is. It is beef, and it's a food, and it's nothing more. There's no story around it that I need to make up. I don't need to feel any guilt or shame about it. I'm going to eat it, and I'm going to move on and forget about it. That being said, when it does come to things like animal protein especially, but I think all food, I think it's really important for us to pay attention and be aware of where it all comes from. You know, like, this is not just a plate of food that miraculously appeared on this plate. First and foremost, our amazing staff here at Roots have gone through the trouble not the trouble, but they've gone through the process of bringing it from the kitchen and presenting it beautifully on the buffet. The step before that was my amazing staff inside the kitchen at Roots has gone through the trouble, through the work. It's not trouble. It's not trouble at all. They've gone through the process of preparing this food, of washing the vegetables, of chopping the vegetables, of cooking the rice and the lentils, of cooking the chicken. They've done all of that for us. I went through the process of testing and creating the recipes, typing them all out, translating them to Spanish, you know. The farmers have gone through all the work of harvesting the vegetables for us, of planting the seeds, of going through the whole process of making sure that the plants have enough water. Mother Nature has gone through all the work, you know, of nourishing the roots, of letting the rain, you know, nourish the leaves. As far as the chicken goes, for example, that chicken has given up its life for us, first and foremost, you know. The Mother Nature has done everything that she's had to do to help that chicken be birthed and thrive and survive long enough for the chicken farmer to prepare that chicken for slaughter so that we can graciously have that on our plates to nourish us. So I think it's really important that we think about that whole process as well, and that can help us build the relationship with our food and maybe even, you know, eliminate some of those other stories that we tend to make up about them. If we can just stick to the facts about the food and let everything else go, then that's a huge first step right there. Food blessings, also really important. As I'm talking about the animal proteins here, we can talk about food blessings. I'm going to do a little side diversion here and just check on the comments. Dun, 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 scrolling back. Da, da, da. Manuel, hello, my friend. I haven't seen you in a long time. Craig Malone says hi from Adelaide, Australia. Hello, Craig, nice to see you. Jennifer Smith, what would you think are the top suggestions for turning the disorder around? Let me get to that in 1 second. Lori Baker says, you're such a great cook. Thank you. The food at Rythmia was amazing. We miss it. Can't wait to return. Thank you, Lori. You're so sweet. We can't wait to have you back. Jason says, I miss the food from being at Rythmia. Thanks, Jason. And Deborah says, looking forward to your menu, Meg, when I come in June. Deborah, super awesome. Can't wait to have you in June. Linda says, hey, Meg, I miss your fabulous food. Linda, I miss you. George Bell says, oh, I miss your food. You guys are so sweet. I can't believe it. You guys are so wonderful. Deborah says, love your perspective about how to look at the food we consume. Yeah, you know, I mean, again, this is just my opinions here, guys, and I'm always changing them. I always have new ideas, and we all have to be flexible. Flexible is where it's at. Jennifer Smith says, well, attitude has so much to do with it. It's hard to lose the feeling of going through the market in the USA. Yeah, and this is true. Like, so many of us still think of food of just like packages that we get from the supermarket, you know, and that's where, you know, really looking at everything and thinking about the whole process that's been in place in order to put the food on the plate, especially when you're going to a restaurant. You know, think, you know, because in a restaurant you're sitting at a table and all of a sudden this plate of food gets plopped in front of you and you eat it and then that's it. But there's so many steps before that happens. We're a bit more aware of it when we're cooking at home. But I'm going to get back to the question. What would you think are the top suggestions for turning disorder around? I mean, it's really hard for me to say that because everyone's journey with food is their own. For me, you know, I was so deeply engulfed in my bulimia. It was not about body image at all towards the end. It was about control. It was about not feeling my feelings. I shared with one of our guests this morning that, you know, I was living this life in Toronto where everything looked so good from the outside. I was a successful television director. You know, I was walking red carpets, going to parties. I was dating these amazing men. I looked like I had a lot of money. I didn't. Like I just shared, I was in bankruptcy mode for the most part. And everything seemed really great, super successful. But I was so unhappy because I was just so unfulfilled, completely the opposite from where I am now. So I would go about my day and I would get home, and in the confines of my apartment, I would just, you know, feel empty. So empty that I needed to fill myself up in some way, and I used food as that tool, as that drug. So I would go to the Sobeys, which was a grocery store chain that was right outside my apartment, and I would go and I could drop easily $150 on food, bring that back to my apartment, and then get in front of my computer, and I would just scroll through Facebook or watch, you know, videos online and just be eating, not even paying attention, not paying attention to the food. I would have no idea what I was eating, not even remember eating it. The taste didn't matter, the texture didn't matter, it didn't matter the story of where the food came from. I just needed to be scarfing food down. And then as soon as I got so full that I couldn't eat anymore, then the guilt and the shame would set in. Why did I do that? Oh my God, this is horrible. And then I would go and I would purge. And that was for two reasons. That was A, because then I would have all of this guilt and shame around the food that I've eaten. But also I felt completely useless and unworthy, and I needed to just get rid of that food and feel invisible. So I would purge to the point of feeling so empty. Sometimes I was throwing up blood. It was, and I apologize for the graphicness of it all, but this is you know, this is my truth. And then I would have popped blood vessels in my eyes, and, you know, puffy eyes, and it would just be nauseous for hours on end afterwards, dehydrated all the time. My neck was always swollen. I had swollen glands. I had sore throats. My hands were torn up from teeth marks. Like I was living in a very, very, very unhappy place. And the binging and the purging was all just relating to me not wanting to feel my anxiety about my dissatisfaction with my life the way that it was. And these were feelings I didn't want to feel. So I scarfed them down, purged them out. And then at the end of the whole process, the feelings just came back. And that was the cycle. And for me, it really took a lot of work to figure out the fact that the eating, the binging and the purging, I thought was my way of processing the feelings, but in reality, it was the way of avoiding the feelings. So I never actually processed them. So they always just reappeared, and then some, and then I would pile on the shame and the guilt as well. Like absolute. It seems crazy, you know, and it actually does. It seems absolutely crazy that I would, you know, I went through the same process, sometimes 3-4 times a day, binging and purging 3-4 times a day, trying to get rid of these feelings. And then I would do it again, and then the feelings would come back, and I would just keep doing it. And the only thing that changed is I got sicker. My body got worse as far as my health was concerned. And then the feelings magnified. So as far as recovery, if you're battling an eating disorder, I think the first thing you need to do is be vocal about it. You know, accept that it is what it is. I don't think there's any shame in sharing at all. There is no shame in saying that I have a problem with food. And I think the vast majority of the population of the world, of North America for that matter, has some level of a disordered relationship with our body and our food. Unless you can pick up this piece of lime and say, this is just a lime, or pick up this peanut butter cookie and say, this is just a peanut butter cookie, and have no other story around it, negative story around it, then you've got, you know, then there's a certain level of disordered mentality around food that we need to address. So I think the first step is definitely addressing that it's there and accepting that it's okay. You know, I'm totally okay with the fact that I am a bulimic that lives a recovered life, and I will say that till the day I die. I'm never going to claim that I'm completely recovered, because I'm constantly in my body and aware, you know, when I feel any sense of overwhelm for any reason in my life, I'm always looking to the tools that I can use outside of reverting back to this old way of thinking. Like, okay, I'm overwhelmed. What can I do to feel better? Is binging and purging? No, that's not my story anymore. What else can I do? I can go for a walk. I can call a friend. I can do some yoga. I can do some meditation. I can scream into a pillow. You know, I've got this whole new toolbox with me. But I'm not going to say that I'm never going to have to worry about it again. Even though I am 72 days sober today. Plant medicine has offered me that amazing blessing after years of daily drinking. I would hazard a guess of 20 years minus a couple of months that I haven't had at least one drink up until 70 days ago. I went into that particular plant medicine ceremony 70 days ago saying, please, let's focus on ridding me of this addiction to alcohol. It no longer serves, and I am not in need of this in my life any longer. Not only did I manage to release those hooks that alcohol had in my psyche, but as a side benefit, as a little bonus, I was able to release a lot of the remaining remnants of my obsession with food, because food is obviously a huge important part of my life. It's what I do for a living. I am the chef here at Rythmia, and I've been working in the culinary world for several years now. But I was also still obsessed with my body and what I was putting into it on a daily basis. When I was eating breakfast, I was thinking about what I was going to have for lunch. When I was eating lunch, I was thinking about what I was going to have for dinner. I was constantly planning, and I didn't realize it until that last plant medicine ceremony 70 days ago, when all of a sudden I woke up and I wasn't thinking about food and what I was going to eat. And I actually had to remind myself, oh my gosh, it's lunchtime now and you still haven't eaten anything. And that was a really big aha moment for me, because even though I've had a super healthy relationship with food and I love it and I love my body, I was still obsessed with when I was going to eat food and what I was going to eat. Mostly because I was always really excited about eating, because I do love eating, but it was still an obsession to a certain extent. Whereas now, food is food. Eating is eating. When I'm celebrating something and I'm going out for a beautiful dinner, then food is a celebration, and I'm consciously celebrating and enjoying the food in a very different way and making memories around it. That's one thing. But on a daily basis, I'm here on this planet to enjoy my body and to enjoy life and enjoy all the beautiful things that I get to do here at Rythmia. And I'm not preoccupied, I guess is a good word. There's no preoccupation around food for my personal self. I have a huge preoccupation with food because I'm constantly thinking about what can we do on the buffet today? How can I edit this recipe? How can I better nourish the clients here? But for my own personal needs, I don't have that same obsession. Let's go back to the notes here. We got Jeff saying hi. Oh, and hi, Nicole. Hi, Jeff Clark. Sorry, my head's going a little bit crazy. Nicole says hi. Jennifer Smith says, wow, attitude has so much to do with it. I already read that one. Maggie says, I love your philosophy. Thank you. Thank you. Hilda Torre Jimenez. Hey, this is our amazing goat cheese provider that's just tuned in. So Hilda, so nice to see you. Nicole says, thanks for sharing this. You're so strong. Thank you. You are so strong. We're all so strong. We just need to remind ourselves. Nicole asked, did the plant medicine help? 150%. The plant medicine has changed my life. Like I will reiterate, I am 70 days sober. Thank you to the plant medicine. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I am free of all of my preoccupation and obsession with food. Thank you to the plant medicine, which is really a big thank you to myself and God and the universe, because it's all the same. And I remember now what it's like to be a child and not be obsessed with food and not have stories, negative stories around it. And the plant medicine is a huge, huge help. Jennifer Smith says, how many meals do you eat each day now? Jennifer, I try to eat as many as my body wants. Quite some days it's, I don't want to tell you, because I don't want the way I eat to be of any, in any indication to anyone else how they should eat. So I eat when I'm hungry and I stop when I'm full. I listen to my body. I've really regained my hunger and satiety signals. They've just, miraculously, because miracles happen, come back. And I'm very acutely aware now of when I'm physically hungry versus emotionally hungry, and I know the difference. But I eat when I'm hungry and I stop when I'm full. Sometimes I eat when I'm not hungry. If someone offers me a chocolate and I just know it's going to be delicious, I eat that chocolate and I enjoy it, and then I forget about it, and then I just go eat again when I'm hungry. So that's how I eat now. And I have no rules about it. Some days I'll eat 6 times, some days 12, sometimes twice. Like, it really depends on what I'm doing and how I'm feeling. Hello, Lorena. How are you? Stormy Dawn says, thank you for saying it's okay to talk about it. Of course, please, let's all talk about it. I want to have the conversation. Every day I have the conversation here at Rythmia with someone about food relationships and eating disorders. And I really would like to come up with a different name than eating disorder, because I think it's so common now that it's not a disorder. It's an eating commonality, if anything. Katie says, looking forward to you and your nutritious goodness. Katie, I can't wait to have you here. Deborah says, congratulations on your healing process. Thank you, Deborah. Steve, good. Meg, do you use a Vitamix in your kitchen? Yes, I do. I do. Jennifer, you have an amazingly strong body for all I went through. Yes, and that is the other miraculous thing, is our body is such a healing mechanism. I am still astounded for what I put it through with my drinking. You know, you could ask my family. They found me face down in ditches on the side of the road in the middle of the night. My mom found me face down on the asphalt outside a hockey rink after I drank a Mickey of vodka and threw up all over the stands when I was a teenager. The abuse that I put myself through with laxatives, like sometimes taking up to 64 laxatives in a night as another way of purging. Not to mention a motorcycle accident that I just got in this week. I was in a motorcycle accident on Monday, managed on my way to teach yoga here, managed to teach yoga every day this week, and I'm feeling strong, never felt better. And the body heals. The body heals. If you believe it, your body will heal you. Nicole says, I cannot wait to meet you. Nicole, I can't wait to meet you. Steve says, blessing Megs on your sobriety. So thank you, guys. So I think I'm going to stop talking because it's 2:36. I was only going to go 10 minutes. And I do want to just share a couple of beautiful food blessings, ways that you can bless your food. And I'm going to post these in the comments afterwards because these are just two that I've used in the past and I've shared in some of my workshops. I've done a few intuitive eating and culinary workshops in the past, and these were a couple that I used. And this was one that's called the Unitarian blessing. So the way to bless your food, super simple. Like I just, you know, when I'm here at Rythmia, I place my hands over my food and I say a prayer. If you're in public, you could always just close your eyes and say your blessing, you know, to yourself. But this is just a really great way to come into your body, come into the moment, come to your table, come to your plate, and be there with your food, so that when you're eating, you're really appreciating it, you're tasting it, and you can use all your 5 senses. So this is just a really good practice to get there. So this blessing is a beautiful one. And it says, blessed be the earth for giving birth to this food. Blessed be the sun for nourishing it. Blessed be the wind for carrying its seed. Blessed be the rain for quenching its thirst. Blessed be the hands that help to grow this food, to bring it to our tables, to nourish our minds, bodies, and spirits. Blessed be our friends, our families, and our loved ones. Blessed be. So that's one, and I am going to post it in the comments. And then the next one, this is a version that was adapted from Buddhist teacher Thich Nhat Hanh. And this is a short one as well. I'm going to post it. He says, may the food we are eating make us aware of the interconnections between the universe and us, Earth and us, and all other living species and us. Because each bite contains in itself the life of sun and earth. May we see the meaning and value of life from these precious morsels of food. So I'm going to, again, link to those in the comments here. Any questions you have, feel free to message me privately. You can go over to my personal Facebook page or just message here on Rythmia, and I'll be sure to get the questions. If there's anyone that you know or yourself are suffering with your relationship with food, I know that there are a lot more tools out there. Myself, I know my mom and I had a really hard time in the 90s finding help when my family finally discovered that I was suffering with my bulimia. But I think there's a lot more help out there available. Plant medicine has been a huge life changer for me, but there's lots of other tools and resources. So hit me up if you have any questions. And I look forward to seeing you guys here. For all of you guests that have mentioned that you're going to be here to meet me in person, I'm super excited about that. I can't wait to nourish your bodies in physical form. For everyone else, I will see you here next Sunday, 2 p.m. Let me have a quick gander here. I have it in my calendar of my topic. What is it going to be next Sunday? Next Sunday is going to be sandwich switch up. So we're going to be making sandwiches, different types of sandwiches. So we'll see you here next Sunday, 2 p.m. Costa Rica time. Thank you so much. Blessings to all. I love you. May you enjoy your week ahead, your year ahead. And may we all move into 2018 with the intention of more self-love and maybe dropping some of our negative stories around food and our body as we move forward. And I think that's the easiest thing that we can intend at this point. So blessings to all. I love you. And I'm going to go get ready to teach yoga to the amazing guests here at Rythmia. Mwah. Love you all. Ciao.